Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent black people. If you're not black and intelligent, you may want to get out because this is not the place for you. But if you are black and intelligent, or you want to be more intelligent, then this is the place for you to hang out. Also, on this platform, we ask you to stop trying to serve everybody and stop trying to save everybody. Please save yourselves first. You got to save yourself first because ain't nobody going to do it for you but you. And that's really important for us to know and agree to as black people. Now, with that said, I want to talk about Kamala Harris. Give me a yes in the chat. Let me know you can hear me. Let me know you can hear me. I'm driving, but I want to talk about this Kamala Harris thing. Some of you have been asking me about this for a while. Hey, Ron Adams and at Rest 2K and Simone P. Uh, yeah, some of you are asking me about these comments that Kamala Harris made uh, as it pertains to racism. Give me a yes or no if you heard Kamala Harris's remarks or you thought about it or had a conversation about it. So Kamala Harris was responding after Tim Scott, the Republican, responded to Joe Biden. And there were these remarks where Tim Scott basically says America is not a racist country. And of course, I don't agree with that. I think racism is in the fabric of the DNA of America. And anybody who says that America is not a racist country is pretty delusional. But really, what's going on is it's a matter of pandering, right? In order to be elected in this country, you have to be elected by white people, and white people, unfortunately, we're not educated on how American racism works. They were kind of taught that America is wonderful and perfect and lollipops and pancakes every day. And so they don't know when you bring racism to the table, they start to have this weird trigger reaction where they feel that you're attacking them and you're mad at them and you hate their guts and all that. And that white guilt is real. And the white guilt comes from a legitimate place. It comes from a place where they know they have a reason to feel guilty because you stole from us. You spent 400 years taking our money. You spent 400 years, your ancestors did. They built this country by stealing our labor. For 400 years, your ancestors built this country by beating and raping and castrating us every time we went as far as trying to learn how to read. So the racism and the white supremacy is real. We know that exists. So stop pretending, stop lying, stop acting like it's not a thing. Tim Scott, by virtue of him trying to be a Republican, he's got to go fit that narrative. And this is why a lot of black people, even if you're conservative, I don't agree with the idea of you trying to be a Republican because the Republicans are full of crap in a lot of areas in terms of not being realistic about what America is and how America works. Now, with that said, you jump over to the Democratic side, which the Democrats are basically liberal versions of Republicans. They're all politicians, and politicians, they all have to pander. And again, they all have to bow to white supremacists. So it's hard to kind of argue against racism when you need the approval of the racist in order for you to be elected. Right? Do you follow what I'm saying? That Kamala Harris would not be elected if it were not for racist people electing her. Right. And again, America is an interesting country in the fact that the racism that exists in America, not only is it really, really, really pervasive throughout society, but what makes it more pervasive and what makes it fester even more is that most people who talk about racism don't know a goddamn thing about what racism actually is and what it really looks like. They don't know. Like seriously, like listen to them when they talk about racism. When they talk about racism, I'm talking about, and I'm not even just talking about the Republicans. The Republicans, they got their own version of crazy, but the Democrats are interesting. If you listen to Barack Obama or Michelle or Kamala or any of the usual suspects, these white liberals in blackface, when they talk about racism, they'll always talk about bias. They'll always talk about something like Michelle would tell some stupid little polite little story. I like Michelle. She's very smart. She's smarter than this, by the way. I believe she's smarter than this. But in order to be in the position that she's in, you have to sort of dumb yourself down because remember, America's racial IQ is about 12. So you have to dumb yourself down to be able to talk to a person with an IQ of 12 to help them politely understand a little bit of what you've seen on a daily basis. But even Michelle Obama is smart enough to know that these stories are stupid. But she tells this stupid little story. I swear to God, I heard Michelle Obama tell a story where she said something about how her and her daughters were in line for ice cream. Because again, to fit the fluffy, remember I told you that the reality for some people about America is ice cream and cotton candy and pancakes, right? So you got to tell little ice cream, cotton candy, pancake stories in order to even get them to begin to identify and empathize with the horror and the nightmare of being black. So she tells a story about her and her daughters being in line for ice cream, and they were in line, and I'm not kidding, they were really in line for ice cream, and a white lady cut in front of them in line, and that hurt their feelings. Right, and that was her racism story. It was a white lady cut in line in front of me and my daughters when we were getting ice cream, and this reminded me that racial bias exists and blah blah blah. Now, first of all, you got to kind of laugh about elite black people telling these stories about where they're like, oh yeah, I understand the struggle, dog. I understand because I was in line for ice cream, man, and they cut in line for me, so I got my ice cream 2 minutes later than I would have gotten it if the white lady hadn't cut in line with me. Well, let me just say this: look, anybody who really wants to understand racism, and they really don't want to understand it, because if they really wanted to understand it, they would listen to people like Farrakhan or Dr. Claude Anderson, or in these people that they ban. They ban these people because they don't want to hear the truth about racism. Like Farrakhan will break it down for you, and he's smarter than you, and that's why they don't want to hear from him, because they're like, man, this guy is telling us something that we can't digest, and he's smarter than us, so we can't actually argue him down. All we can do is try to shut him down, and even that's not really working, right? So they tell these ice cream and cotton candy stories because they don't really understand how racism works. You, in order to solve the problem, again, I'm speaking to you in a way that is going to offend a lot of people, because my brain is built on logic. I have a strong appreciation for logic. I taught math at the University of Kentucky, so I have an appreciation for basic ideas like 2 + 2 = 4. So if you come to me and you tell me that because you're emotionally charged and because your feelings are set in a certain way, or because you were lied to your whole life with an educational system that's filled with tremendous amounts of propaganda, and you try to convince me, no, boys, I'm mad at you right now because you're not woke. And I'm like, I'm not woke. Wait, I woke up 2 hours ago and I drank some coffee, so I'm not woke. No, you ain't woke. Well, why not I woke? Because everybody knows that 2 + 2 is 187. And I'm like, no, it's not going to be 187. No matter how much you yell it, no matter how many buildings you burn down, no matter how much you scream Black Lives Matter, 2 + 2 is not 187. 2 + 2 is still 4, right? So the reality is that the reason that America cannot solve racial problems, and I'm gonna get back to Kamala Harris in a minute, I promise you. The reason America can't solve racial problems is because they don't even understand the crux of the problem in the first place. The problem with racism in America, Kamala Harris, Tim Scott, Michelle Obama, if you're listening, the problem with racism in America is very basic. The number one reason that racism is a problem in America, it has nothing to do with us not being able to get ice cream in front of the white lady. I don't even need to eat ice cream. That's the problem. That's why black people die from diabetes and heart disease, because we eating ice cream and Popeye's chicken. I don't want your goddamn ice cream. You know what I want? I want you to acknowledge the $15 trillion in resources that was stolen from black people, and I want you to give it back. That's it. That's it. I don't need you to paint Black Lives Matter on the street, because then you're just fucking up the street. Like, why do I need you? I don't need you to mess up the street to honor me. I don't need you wearing kente cloth in Congress, that's what Nancy Pelosi did. They wore kente cloth. Um, I don't need you to tell me that you think that I'm beautiful and I is smart and I is intelligent and I is worthy. I don't need you to tell me. I know these things. I have a PhD. I know I'm smart. I know that I'm worthy. And my mama told me that. I don't need you. I don't need that from you. I need you to pay the money back. I need you to pay what you owe. Like, so I'm kind of like, so the frustration you hear in my voice comes from the fact that I feel like Riley in the Boondocks. Anybody remember that episode where Riley was writing a letter to Santa Claus? Give me a yes or no if you remember that episode. Boondocks, one of the most brilliant shows ever. Aaron Magruder, if you ever hear my video, please call me. Aaron Magruder is on my list of people that I would love to talk to, because Aaron Magruder is one of the great geniuses of all time. Aaron Magruder did an episode of the Boondocks where Lil Riley was writing a letter to Santa Claus. Y'all remember that? And he starts the letter off by saying, "Dear Santa Claus, you are a bitch ass nigga." And he explains that the reason that he feels that Santa Claus is a bitch ass nigga is because Santa Claus owes him some money. You owe me. So the whole episode, he spent the whole time chasing down Santa Claus saying, pay what you owe. Pay what you owe. Right? Y'all remember that? Right? And that's how I feel. When I think about America, I don't really need your cotton candy ice cream pancake stories. I don't need you to tell me that Black Lives Matter. I know this. I need you to pay what you owe. So I'm like, Riley, I'm mad. If I write a letter, I wrote a letter to President Obama when Russell Simmons and I were trying to challenge the Obama administration to do more on mass incarceration. Like a lot of y'all think that you woke because you're talking about police brutality and all that. Man, we've been on this. We've been on this stuff. We were doing this stuff years ago, where we literally led a massive campaign and got hundreds of celebrities and scholars and everybody else to sign this letter. And I wrote the letter. It was my words, and I wrote the letter to Obama asking them to simply keep their promise to start letting some of these black men out of prison that they locked up 20-something years ago under the Biden-Obama crime bill. Biden will never get my love, never get my support, because I do not support people who exterminate black people for a living. I cannot support a man who built his career on trying to incarcerate as many black people as possible. And y'all really think he's the guy that's going to solve this police problem when he's the one who put the police out there in the first place? How stupid can you be? How backward can you be? Again, we do. I'm sorry. I'm hurting your feelings because I'm trying to remind you that 2 + 2 is 4. You're trying to convince me that 2 + 2 is -483. No, 2 + 2 is going to be 4, whether you like it or not. So when I wrote that letter, I kid you not, Russell had to calm me down. I give Russell a lot of props. I know Russell gets some crazy PR over things that allegedly might have happened in the 1990s. I don't know nothing about that. I told y'all, so some of that hip hop culture, you don't need to watch that. Some of these brothers, get into stuff. And I'm not saying Russell did or not. I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know this, but I do know that all I know is what I experienced when I worked with him. And when I worked with him, he was a man of integrity. He followed through on his word. He helped get the job done, and he stood up for black people. He stood up for black. He was B1 in that whole situation. And believe me, I have a very high standard in terms of how I measure my interactions with celebrities. And so when I wrote this letter, I kid you not, I literally felt like Riley in the Boondocks. I didn't want to say, well, dear Mr. President, although your administration has done wonderful things for the black community, right? All this, I had to kiss a lot of ass in this letter, and I hated it. It drove me crazy. I literally felt like Riley. I wanted to start the letter by saying, dear Barack, you is a bitch ass nigga. Like, that's how I felt. I really felt that way. I felt like Riley writing that letter to Santa Claus because I just wanted to say, pay what you owe. Pay what you owe. And so when you talk about race in America, and I got to keep it honest with you guys, this is just what it is. Kamala doesn't even understand race and racism because Kamala's not even foundational black American. She doesn't have a descendant in her family that was even enslaved in this country. Kamala's Jamaican and Indian. I'm not saying that makes her bad. I'm not saying that makes her unqualified. I'm not saying that makes her a stupid person. I'm saying that you don't even know what a real black person looks like in America. You don't even know what a descendant of slavery looks like. You still think that because you put Kamala in office that somehow you did something for African Americans. Kamala ain't African American. Even Kamala is probably sitting around saying, damn, are these people that desperate that they think I'm one of them? No. Kamala is Kamala. God bless her for being who she is, but she ain't. I don't look at her and say to my girls like, you could be just like Kamala Harris. No, you can't. You're not. You're not from India. Your blood is not. Well, scratch that. You know what? I gotta back up. Actually, I've just told him myself. I am getting married to a beautiful black woman, and she did have children with another man, and he is part Jamaican. He is actually full Jamaican. So actually, my children in my house do have Jamaican blood in their bones. And when we went to Jamaica, I reminded them of that. Right. So let me backpedal a little bit on what I just said about the Jamaican thing. But I do not look at Kamala Harris and say to a little black girl whose great grandmother was a slave, like, oh, she's just like you. No, she's not. It doesn't make her bad. It just means she's not. And the thing is that we have such a polarized political climate that when you give people straight facts, when you give them logic, when you tell them that 2 + 2 is 4, they say, well, why do you hate me? I don't fucking hate you. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm giving you facts and information. And in order for you to solve the problem, you need accurate information. Again, I'm just a mathematician. Call me an asshole, but it's because I'm logical. Right? So here's the deal. When Tim Scott made his comment that America's not a racist country, we know that he's full of crap. We know that that's a lie. We know that Tim Scott, unfortunately, he's like all the other black folks that become full-fledged, diehard Republicans. Part of you becomes compromised because the Republican Party has not ever at any point been able to fully embrace African Americans. The Republican Party is just like a lot of other, just like American corporations, most other American institutions have not fully embraced African Americans. Even universities, like I talk a lot about Syracuse University, where I was on the faculty for 13 years. When I would go ask Syracuse University, I'd say, how many African Americans have you hired and promoted in the last 10, 20 years? They would always go back and say, well, we have a lot of diversity. And I'd be like, no, I'm not talking about diversity. I'm talking about African Americans. And they say, oh, yeah, we have plenty of black people. We have this African here. We have this, we also have brown skin. We have people of color. Right? No, not people of color. Stop there, please. No. We have women, and no, stop. Because what people don't understand is that diversity initiatives actually dilute African American power more than more than more than situations that don't even have diversity. Like, do you understand that even diversity initiatives that are misguided are more harmful to black people than having no diversity initiative at all? Did y'all know that? That literally, when you live in a world that's just straight black and white, that world is simpler for descendants of slavery than a world where you suddenly dilute and eliminate black people by replacing them with immigrants and anybody who's not a white man, right? So you hire two white women, a couple of midgets, a couple people from Ecuador, and you say, and then a gay person, and you say, hey, we have diversity now. Well, maybe you do, but you ain't done nothing for African Americans. And what is so fascinating about the propaganda in this country is that they will lie to African Americans. This is the thing. They need you on board with this white supremacy thing for it to work. White supremacy doesn't work until you become the white supremacist. So that's why they educate you when you're a child. Remember, I've told you guys, they will never give you reparations for slavery, not in our lifetime, not legitimate reparations, but they will always give you preparations for slavery. And a big part of the preparations for slavery is to control your mind to the point where you will literally vote against your own interests. You will literally believe that the thing that's harming you is actually the thing that's helping you. You will believe that the poison is actually the medication. That's the insidious nature of America's racism and white supremacy, is that they've been playing chess for 400 years, and some of y'all don't even know the rules of checkers. So the thing about it is that everybody in this situation is a victim to some extent. Tim Scott's a victim because he's been lied to, and somebody convinced him that America's not a racist country because he's got white Republican friends who love him because he's a Republican like them. They don't love you because you're black. They love you in spite of the fact that you're black. And the blacker you were if you were to become super black and truly embrace the progress of the black community, the Republicans would kick you out like yesterday's old lunch meat. Like, they would throw you out in the street like a $2 hoe, right? And that's just what it is. That's because human nature says that people tend to support people who agree with their ideology. So stop thinking that the Republican situation is black and white. No, it's conservative liberal. I've seen Republicans treat black conservatives extremely well, but it's not because they're black, it's because they're conservative. So to think that the fact that they're treating you well means that they're not racist is misguided. But to also think that Republicans are all racist or that they always hate black people is wrong too. No, there are plenty of black Republicans who get mad love from the Trump administration and everything in between. Same thing is true with the liberals. When you hear the liberals talk, I want you to pay attention to the way they treat black people who put black people first. I want you to look at the way the Biden administration disrespected Ice Cube and Dr. Claude Anderson and all the black people that stepped to them and said, this is what we need. Pay what you owe. Pay what you owe. Type that in the chat. Pay what you owe. That was our slogan during the whole campaign. And this is masculine leadership. They're not used to this coming from the black community. The Biden crime bill spent a lot of time taking fathers out of the community, taking the men out of the community, eliminating the masculine male and replacing him with the feminine male. So a lot of the energy they're accustomed to from the black community is feminine energy, where you need to be loved and everything else. Like my woman, I love my woman and I love her to death. And I would tell you, my woman needs to be loved. Like, loving her is an absolute requirement to be in a relationship with her. Well, me and her ain't built the same. We're not built the same. I told her straight up, I said, I love you and I really want you to love me, but being respected is extremely important for me. I would rather be respected than loved. I'd rather be feared than loved in some situations when it comes to business. If getting you to fear me and to respect me is what I need to do to make this deal go through, then I'd rather have that. I don't need your love. I don't need you to tell me I'm a wonderful person. I need you to do what you're supposed to do. Do right by me. Pay what you owe. If you tell me you love me and you don't pay what you owe, then that means you don't love me at all. You don't respect me. And that's a problem. And they will tell you how much they appreciate black people. They'll paint Black Lives Matter on the building and put and give money to Black Lives Matter, which is not a donation to the black community. That's a donation to the white liberal wing, the blackface wing of the white liberal establishment. That's what that is. So giving money to Black Lives Matter is not the same as giving money to the black community. That is giving money to themselves. They're basically supporting the Negro wing of the Democratic Party when they give money to Black Lives Matter, because there are thousands and thousands of black business owners who want to build up the community who can't get a goddamn nickel to start a dry cleaner. There are millions of black people out here who would be excellent homeowners because they're paying $2,000 a month in rent to some white guy, and they can't get a damn home mortgage. There are millions of black people out here who don't want to work for white people, who want to start their own businesses, but they can't get a business loan, but y'all give them student loans all goddamn day because student loans are putting money in your pocket. It's not putting money in the black community's pocket. So stop that. Stop with the nonsense. Kamala, grow up. You said in the beginning, pay attention now. First thing she said is that she agrees with Tim Scott, this is country. And then she said, well, we need to have honest conversations about the history of racism. But you are a liar, ma'am. You are lying. You are not having honest conversations about race. Because if you did, you wouldn't be ignoring the people that want to have real conversations with you. There are people in the black community right now who put the black community as their top priority, who are begging for a meeting with the Biden administration. Dr. Claude Anderson has his powernomics plan. He is respected by millions of black people who will
I think it's so funny that you guys are still here. So you know what? I know that there's conspiracies about why we got cut off, but it wasn't a conspiracy. The conspiracy is that my cell phone battery died. I didn't realize how low the battery was. But anyway, I'm gonna go. I realize actually sometimes it's better for me to calm down a little bit before I start yelling too much and speaking too much truth. But what I will say, because I actually have to go right now. Alicia and I are about to go eat breakfast. But I want to say to you real quick that, Kamala needs to stop lying. Kamala needs to stop it. Her statement about racism, we need to have honest conversations about racism of the past. Well, people have been trying to have honest conversations with you. And whenever someone wants to have an honest conversation, they don't want to have that conversation. If you read books like Black Labor, White Wealth by Dr. Claude Anderson, he breaks down in extreme detail exactly how Black people had their wealth stolen over the last 400 years. He breaks it down to the penny of what a slave costs, how the price of a slave changed based on economic conditions, the specific strategies that whites used in order to control and manage Black people. And I see Damani says Jamaicans are Black. No, not all Jamaicans are Black. Not all Jamaicans are Black the way you are. And so don't. It doesn't mean Kamala is not Black on some level, but Jamaican DNA is complex. It's not no, this assumption that every Black Jamaican or every Jamaican has everything in common with African Americans is just not true. It's not anti-Jamaican. It's just pro-truth. Okay, so what they do though is they will find more acceptable Black people from other places to replace African Americans. So I think it is important. It doesn't mean you have to discriminate. It doesn't mean that people from other countries don't have a place in America. It doesn't mean that they can't add value. But I can't go to Jamaica and be treated like I am an authentic Jamaican. That is not going to happen. So if I can't go to Jamaica and be seen as an authentic Jamaican, then what makes you think that somebody can come over here and replace African Americans? Give me a yes or no if you follow what I'm saying. Like, why in the fuck do you think it's okay for them to replace you, but you can't go over in other countries and replace them? They find more acceptable Black people to put in that place, and then because you have no standards, because you'll fall for the okie doke, you say, oh well, they look Black just like me, so that's going to work. When you don't understand that the agreement that they make with many people when they come to America is, don't support African Americans and we'll take care of you. They treat them no differently from the way the Republican Party treats Black people. They say, look, as long as you don't want to speak the truth about racism in America, then we're going to love you and we're going to embrace you. We're going to support you. We're going to elevate you. We're going to give you lots of opportunity. The Democratic Party has a similar agreement. As long as you really don't do what's really best for Black folks, as long as you serve our interests first, then we're going to elevate you. We're going to support you. We're going to act like you're important because you give us cover. You give us cover. So Black immigrants, unfortunately, in some situations, you're giving them cover. That you allow them to prop up a Black face and just say, see, y'all, we ain't racist, because racism is the big cancer of America. Racism is the big thing that they're afraid of being accused of. So they use you as cover. So if you're an immigrant, they'll say, look, here's a Black immigrant. We love Black people. But then they're secretly getting this immigrant person to promote whatever their agenda was in the beginning. Same thing. The Republicans, like we ain't racist. Look, we got Black Republicans, right? And then, but they're getting that person to pretty much repeat all the Donald Trump talking points that a Republican might say, right? And then the Democrats do the same thing. Hey, y'all, we ain't racist. Here's a Black person, Kamala Harris, ski-wee, y'all. She went to an HBCU, y'all. And they're feeding Kamala talking points and telling her, look, lady, we need you to do what the party wants you to do. So she's carrying water for the party. Nobody carries water for the Black community. The only people that are carrying water for you, meaning pushing forward your agenda, are people that some of you that they're telling you to ignore. So when Ice Cube or whomever comes out and says, "Look, I want what's best for Black people," period, they convince you, "Oh, he's bad, he's evil." Right? It's no different from when they lied to people about religion. They pretty much convince you to go with your religion by telling you that every other religion is like worshiping the devil. They say it's satanic. Every other religion is satanic, so you should pick ours. That's no different from a pimp telling a hoe, look, don't go with him. He's going to hurt you. Don't go with him because he's going to steal from you. But baby, I got your back. No, all of y'all are pimps. Everybody's got their agenda, and ain't nothing wrong with pimping and hoeing, I guess, if that's what you want to do. But at the end of the day, you got to at least know what it is. But the worst situation is when you are used as a hoe and you don't even know you're a hoe. You really think your pimp loves you. So you think these people that are pimping you actually love you. They don't love you. Use a hoe. Until you learn how to represent your own interests, then you're going to be, that's all you're going to be is political hoes, political footballs. Malcolm X gave a speech about it. Go watch Malcolm X's speech where he explains how the liberals harm black people. He said black people are a political football, aka political hoe, that they toss back and forth and use for their own interests to obtain power. So when Kamala Harris comes out and says, I don't believe America's a racist country, that right there tells you that she's not you. She doesn't understand your experience. Because let me ask y'all, let's just do a quick survey. How many of you, yes or no, give me a yes or no. How many of you believe that America's a racist country? Give me a yes or no in the chat. Give me everybody who believes America's racist, give me a yes. Everybody who believes America's not racist, give me a no. Okay. All right. So I'm seeing a lot of yeses coming through. Second piece to that is when Kamala says we need to have honest conversations about the history of racism. What she's doing is she's detaching her and her administration from the dangers of America. That's an isolationist kind of strategy. She's doing it in two ways. One is she's separating the past from the present. She's saying racism was back then, but it's not now. So we're not racist, but those people were. Right. And then the other thing she's doing is she starts talking, using those dog whistle terms about I think she says that the greatest threat, greatest terrorist threat in America is white male extremist terrorist, domestic terrorist or something like that. Right. So she's not saying that, she's not sort of challenging the white male for his role in the creation and maintenance of systematic racism. She's pointing out the extreme elements. So she's saying, look, I want all of you guys to still love me, but I'm going to point out those extremists, right? The same thing is true when they try to get a tax increase through. They don't say we're going to tax everybody more. They say we're going to tax rich people more, right? So what you do is you vilify and you isolate and you separate yourself from the people that you don't want to be associated with, and that allows you to still maintain good graces with the majority of the people that are hearing your voice. So the majority of the people that are hearing Kamala speak are people that have benefited from systematic racism. Systematic racism is very basic. It's complex, but it's basic. It's this idea that white people have received the majority of the benefits and the resources in America, largely because the system was structured in a way that the resources would go to them and not go to you. Anything you obtained, they would take it away. Any resource that came into the country would go right past you and go straight to them. And as a result, you created an economic imbalance. The economic imbalance shows itself in every piece of data that you can possibly imagine. There's no data you can show me that doesn't clearly show that economic inequality is a huge problem in America. Now, one thing that's fascinating, though, is that because they've used the civil rights movement as cover to keep them from addressing the real issue, you've fallen for the okie doke. But if you go look at the numbers, I really need you to look at the numbers. You'll see that you haven't advanced economically in the last 30 or 40 years. Why? Well, because they know how to use dog whistle social issues to get you to distract it from the real stuff. The real issue is pay what you owe. Or in the gangster movie, what was it? Goodfellas. Fuck you, pay me. Right. Well, we got we said Black Lives Matter. No, fuck you, pay me. We have a Kumbaya Dr. King dinner every year. Fuck you, pay me. Well, we're going to create jobs for Negroes eventually. You can come work for us and build our companies up. Fuck you, pay me. That's it. I don't need you. I don't really care. I would rather deal with a white person who hates my guts, who pays me and gives me what he owes, than a white guy who acts like he loves me and steals my money. That's it. That's at the end of the day. F you, pay me. F you, pay me. I'm not going to keep saying fuck you, but that's how I feel. F you, pay me. Pay what you owe. That needs to be the unifying theme of any Black person that is really trying to achieve progress for the Black community. Now, everybody else that wants to get distracted and talk about some of this other stuff, that's fine. But at the end of the day, if you have resources, you can build your own community. You can police your own communities eventually, because you can use the resources to control the politicians. The politicians could control the police department. So that police problem gets solved if you pay Black people what you owe them, right? Education. We can build our own schools. We don't need white people to build better schools for us. When they tell you that we're going to help you get a better education by giving money to ourselves to educate you better, that means they're playing you for a sucker. That's white supremacy 101. They're telling you that you're too stupid to educate your own children. You need us to do it for you. They're not begging you they're not telling you, hey, we want to give you our money so you can educate our kids. Give me a yes or no. Are white people in droves going out and saying, we need black people to educate our children better? We need black people to build better schools so that our kids can get an education. Our kids can't learn nothing because the black people are not educating them properly in school. No, you only think that way because you were trained to think that way. Because you too, unfortunately, many of you in this room are probably white supremacists. You look to them to do things for you that they don't look to you to do shit. They're not looking to you to create jobs. They're like, why would we look to black people to create a damn job? No, black people are supposed to work for us. That's the working class, right? They don't look to you to educate their kids, right? They don't look to you for any of that. They're not looking to give all their money to you and go. They're not all going $100,000 in debt to be educated at universities run by you. You know, they're not looking to do it. They don't. So the point is that that's your white supremacy right there. That's the racism that matters. I don't care about ice cream and cotton candy stories that Michelle Obama tells about how she got in line and the white lady cut in line in front of her and it hurt her feelings. Fuck your feelings. It's ain't about feelings. It's about resources. It's about structure, building families, institutions. The other thought too, and I'm gonna say this and I gotta go. Alicia's waiting for me. I remember like Oprah. It drives me crazy when I see elite billionaire black people like Oprah sitting there next to Meghan Markle, the Duchess of whatever the fuck she was. I don't know what her title was, but sitting there with Meghan Markle, and they're literally trying to relate to racism in America by talking about the fact that when she's sitting in the royal palace with chauffeurs and limousines and $100 million in the bank, somebody asks her what skin tone she thinks little Archie, her baby, is going to be. And the fact that here's the thing. I know that's going to work because people are just stupid. The Sussex, that's it. Thank you. I give zero shits about that. Remember, the British got all their money by stealing it from black people anyway. So when you celebrate that, you're literally celebrating the murder and oppression of your own people, just so you know. So when you got excited and all teary-eyed because she was marrying the redhead white boy from across the sea and you thought that was a come up for her, like that was an upgrade, just know that unfortunately you're celebrating criminals. You're celebrating people that built their wealth by stealing it from black people around the world. Look up the history. The Queen of England is the largest landowner on earth. She got most of that land by basically her people going around the world and killing black people and taking their stuff, right? So she owes reparations too. So you need to pay what you owe also. But when she's sitting there and she's literally taking the very complex, very important idea of systematic racism and reducing it to the fact that it hurt her feelings that somebody asked her what her son's skin tone was. That is about the most, about the clearest reflection of just how far we are from really solving the racial problem in America. You're light years away because you don't even know what the damn problem is. If I'm having a baby, like I wouldn't have a baby, but I don't even, that's weird to even say. If I'm a woman having a baby and I'm sitting in a palace and I'm the Duchess of Sussex, and somebody asks me if I think my son is going to be light or dark, I either answer the question or I don't. But that has no bearing whatsoever on my quality of life. I can just choose to ignore you. I can write your question off as a dumb question I don't even want to address. Or I could say, I don't know. We'll see. Or I think the baby's going to be pretty light skinned because the white boy I married is pretty, like really, like why can't you answer the damn question and go on with your life? The idea that so many people got offended by something so tiny and insignificant is a reminder of just how white supremacist many of us are. We're white supremacists in this fact. I could ask that same question to a white person. There are things that white people can say to you. They can call you a name and you will go to jail beating up a white person because they called you a name in the grocery store. Some of y'all will, not all of y'all, not intelligent black people, but some people will. You've seen this, right? But I can't think of too many names I could call a wealthy white man that's going to make him go to jail and be taken away from his family to beat me up because I called him a name. Now, if I steal his money, yeah, he might get to whooping ass. If I mess with his woman, yeah, he might jack me up. If I'd harm his children, yeah, then yeah, we might come to blows over that. But if I run up and I say, you're just a dirty crackhead, he's gonna laugh at me and walk away because his self-esteem is intact. He's like, well, I'm still white. Right? And so what I'm saying to you is that part of your commitment to white supremacy is this idea that you care so much about what white people think. When you come into your own, you don't care what people think. All you care is that they pay what they owe. All you care is that they do right by you. Denzel did a great scene in Fences when he was talking to his son, and his son was like, Daddy, do you like me? And he said, wait a minute, boy. Let me just straighten you up right now. See, that's that masculine leadership in the household that a lot of our people are told is bad. This is that toxic masculinity. He said, son, don't you worry about whether or not somebody like you. He said, I don't know. Ain't nobody got to like you. He said, what you do is you make sure they do right by you. Now, mind you, I understand. I do believe a father should love his son, right? So that is a little bit overboard, right? To say that it's not that your father shouldn't like you. But at the end of the day, when you're talking about competition, this is what it is. That's what race is. Racism and race is a race. It's a race for resources. It's a competition. In competition, you're not looking for your adversaries to like you. You need to try to win. You need to make sure they do right by you. Make sure they pay what you owe. And when they pay what you owe, they're not going to do it with a smile on their face. Nobody I know will ever give away money that they believe belongs to them and be happy to do that. So this paradoxical idea that you want white people to give you what you owe and you want them to smile about it and to give you approval while they're doing it, that ain't going to happen. When you get your reparations, it ain't going to come with a smile. They're going to be pissed off. They're going to throw the money at you. Just take it, right? They're not going to say, oh my God, we're so happy. We're so glad that black people are prospered. Oh my God, right? It's not going to come with a feel-good moment. So all your feel-good moments are going to have to be internally generated. All your self-esteem is going to have to come from you. All that love that you need, where you're looking for love in all the wrong places, is going to have to come out of your own community, from your own family, from your own people. And a big part of the reason that you can't get what you want is because you don't have the ability to truly love yourself. Because if you loved yourself and you loved your community and you loved your children, you loved your family, you would fight harder and demand that people pay what they owe and they do right by you. But because you let everybody play you like a hoe, then you're always going to keep losing and they're going to keep laughing at you. So Kamala, I'm going to say this and I got to go. Kamala's response to Tim Scott was expected. Tim Scott and Kamala are on the same team. They're both on the white supremacy team. They just have different angles, but they're on the same team. Kamala stating that that we need to have honest conversations about racism of the past is contradicted by the fact that she refuses to meet with people who really have the ability to explain racism of the past to her. She would rather Joe Biden did turn down interview opportunities with people like Dr. Claude Anderson so he could go talk to Cardi B. Remember, Cardi B is the rapper who tells little girls they want to be prostitutes and whatever, right? Kamala Harris also, when Ice Cube started speaking up on behalf of the black community, Kamala was all for rappers getting involved in politics as long as they were speaking the party line. As long as they were doing what they were told, then they were an asset to her. But then when they started bucking and saying, no, we're not going to do what's best for the party, we're going to do what's best for our community, that's when Kamala said, well, some of these rappers need to stay in their place. They need to know their place. And then she was talking about Ice Cube. And so the thing about it is that the black people who make progress for you are not the anointed and approved Negroes. The anointed and approved Negroes are anointed and approved because they're speaking the party line. They're doing what the Democrats want, or they're doing what the Republicans want. The people that you really want to pay attention to are the ones they hate the most. And the more they hate them, the more you need to look into those people, right? So when you look at Farrakhan, there's a reason why they're trying to ban the hell out of Farrakhan. If you look at Dr. Claude Anderson, there's a reason why even Howard University and HBCU has been down the street for one of the greatest economic minds in Black American history, but yet they never once have invited him to even come speak on campus one time. Only Rock Newman on that campus, who has a great radio show, by the way, had Dr. Anderson on because Rock truly cares about Black people getting the information that they need. Instead, there is an agenda that wants Black people to continue to support white supremacy by continuing to be trained to go work for white people, to be continue to be trained to go deep in student loan debt to big white universities, to be trained to go and support white political parties and without asking for anything in return, and to pretty much elevate the economic success of other people at your own expense. So that's why the Black community, in a nutshell, has had no economic progress, continues to remain in the economic gutter, while the rest of the world is thriving and doing well. It's because that's the way the system was built. It was not built for you to be the leaders. America was built for you to be the peasants. And some of y'all love being peasants. So I'm not talking to the peasants anymore. If you are a peasant and what I said hurt your feelings, then you should leave this channel and go somewhere else. You need to go talk to somebody who's going to let you continue with your pre-existing condition. Everybody else who's trying to break out of that, just understand you're going to have to dissect this thing and look at it from a different perspective, or they're going to keep having you falling for the okie doke. So that's what I see. That's what I saw when Kamala made her statement. I think even Kamala is smart enough to know that. I think Kamala is probably surprised that the Black community can be so gullible. I really do. I really think they sit around and say, my God, I can't believe that they keep falling for the same thing over and over again. But that's what desperate people do. That's what irrational people do. That's what people do when their self-esteem is low. You're constantly holding out hope that the white Jesus will arrive. You're holding out hope that you're like that desperate woman who keeps holding out hope that the man who beats her ass every Tuesday is going to somehow become a good man. Like somebody said this about Future and Sierra. They said women. What was it? They said women don't want Russell Wilson. They want to be with Future, but they want him to act like Russell Wilson, right? So you don't really. Some people don't really want true freedom and progress. They want freedom that comes under the paternalism of racial slavery, right? You want the perception of freedom that comes under the guidance of white people who you elevate as your gods, right? Because you deep down don't believe you're capable of truly educating yourselves, building your own communities, building your own businesses, or even building your own families. You're always looking to others for guidance. And that's the problem. So that's my 2 cents on the issue. I'm about to go. Alicia's waiting for me. I hope you guys have a good day. Please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button before you go if you haven't done it yet. And just sign up to the channel, because I really like to talk to people that that actually get it. I'm not a fan of the people that don't. The people that don't, I mean, I can't help you. I can't, I hope your strategy works, even though there's no evidence that it has actually worked. I'm into solutions. I'm tired of the BS. So take care, guys. Have a good day. And thank you for listening. And I'll see you soon. Be good. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is blissful, we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.